Hey, what's up guys, it's Cypher from SypherPK.com, and today I am presenting you a Magicka Sorcerer PvP build that I put together over the past week. It took me some time grinding Undaunted and things like that, but there's obviously some flexibilities that you can do. You don't necessarily have to have every piece of gear and passive, but let me just show you guys what I've been playing with. It's a very strong build from what I've seen so far. Sorcerers are a lot harder to play compared to previous patches. They do have some issues with specifically sustain slash, keeping up their shields. The fact that they have to recast their shields multiple times during a fight calls for better sustain sets to help benefit them during PvP. And also stacking your max Magicka is going to be really important to at least get a decently sized shield. So let's get right into the build. I like to make these quick and to the point. This is a Destro Resto build. I will not be making a dual wield build. Dual wield builds are still viable in some way. They're still strong if you play a specific setup, but they're not competitive enough for me to cover them. Maybe sometime in the future I might go over Dual Wield Sorcerer, but for now we're sticking with Destro Resto. Front bar, pretty standard setup. We have Crystal Fragments, Crushing Shock, Structured Entropy, Endless Fury, and Malicious Curse. Now some people might want to play with a shield on their front bar, and that is definitely still an option, and I'll let you know how to do that, but for now I'm just going to show you what I run. It's all personal preference, but you have some flexibility with this setup. I'm also using Shooting Star for my ultimate. It does flame damage, which is buffed by your elemental expert, so it's a really strong ultimate. 170 ult cost because of the sorcerer reduction passes. Pretty standard Destro Resto setup. If you don't want to run Endless Fury for whatever reason, this is a joke of an execute, but I still like to use it because it helps me get that little bit of extra damage in at the end when it's really important to try to burst someone down. But if you don't want to use Endless Fury, you have two options. You can either put Mage's Guild Inner Light for extra crit and max Magicka, and that'll give you quite a bit of max Magicka. Or if you want to go the penetration route, you can put Elemental Drain, which will help you with your sustain and also reduce your opponent's resistance. Really good setup for penetration. But I typically play with the execute. I just really like having it. But Resto Bar. Okay. Resto Bar. We have our 3 shields: Hardened Ward, Healing Ward, Harness Magicka. We have Daedric Minefield and Streak. Our ultimate is Greatest Storm Atronach. Pretty standard setup. Nothing really has changed that much since we made this build a while back. Like, the abilities are still the same. The sets are a little bit different. Now, for people who want to play with this shield on their front bar, you can put Hardened Ward on your front bar instead of Entropy. And just getting a sub real quickly. We can put the shield on the front bar instead of Entropy, and on our back bar, we can put you can take the shield off and put Power Surge for the Magicka Sorcerer. This will give you an option to have your shield on your front bar and keep your spell damage buff on your back bar. Now, Power Surge versus Entropy. Power Surge versus Entropy. Power Surge is going to give you 2% spell damage, and it's going to give you healing on top of the Magicka Sorcery. Entropy is going to give you Might of the Guild passive, which increases your damage. It's also going to give you 2% max Magicka and 2% recovery. So as far as passives are concerned, Entropy takes it, and even damage output, Entropy is going to give you more damage just because of the Might of the Guild passive. But the healing from Surge is really useful. For me, how I like to play it is if I have my buff on my back bar, on my healing bar, I'll put Surge. But if I have it on my front bar, I'll put Entropy. That's just how I like to play it. Other people have different preferences. But yes, this is the setup, and if you want to have the shield on your front bar. But I've been playing with the shield on my back bar, and I've been happy with it. Haven't had any issues with it, so that's how I'm playing it. It's up to you. It all comes down to personal preference. And now another thing is Dawnbreaker of Smiting. It's a physical damage ultimate now, so it's not going to hit as hard as it used to hit. But the thing is, you can still use it for the little bit of extra burst if you don't want to use Meteor, or if you want to drop your Atronach and have Meteor on your back bar for the really tanky opponents, but still use Dawnbreaker for like the dodge roll builds and things like that. Dawnbreaker is still useful. With this amount of max Magicka and spell damage, you're going to hit like 6, 7, 8k Dawnbreakers, and the die is going to take for a reasonable amount of damage. You're not going to hit that hard, but it's a reasonable amount of damage. And it works well. It works well. I've been playing with it, and I actually prefer Dawnbreaker over the Atronach. It gives me that little bit of extra just potential burst if I need it. And the knockdown is very, very useful. So those are the ability bars. Again, if you want to use Overload, you can to get some extra abilities on your third bar. Now, let's talk about the sets real quick. We are running 5 light, 1 heavy, 1 medium. We have Undaunted rank 9. If you do not have Undaunted rank 9, you do not have to run 5 light, 1 heavy, 1 medium. You can run 7 light. It's up to you. You have a little bit more sustain, but a little bit less max magicka. I went for the max magicka. So we're running 5 seducer. Maximum magical recovery, maximum magic recovery, and reduce the magic cost abilities by 8%. Like I said, with the nerf to shields being 6 seconds, you have to cast them a lot more frequently, requiring a bigger strain on your magic pool. And then obviously the streak nerf is another issue. So the cost reduction comes into play really easily here, and it's very beneficial. So what we're doing is we're running a heavy chest, medium legs, light seducer shoulder, and light seducer helmet, with Seducer Destro staff.
Why did you leave me alone, you fucking cunt?
I should have turned off my stream notifications, and now my stream is trolling me. But Inferno Seducer staff with sharpened, increased weapon damage glyph on my Destro, and then on the back bar we're using Restoration Seducer staff with defending with damage magicka poison. You don't have to use poisons, but this is probably the best poison for my setup right now. Increase your victim's magic and stamina cost by 60% for 6.5 seconds. So the jewelry is willpower with all spell damage. If you want to put a cost reduction or recovery glyph because you're running out of magicka, you can do that. This setup right here has a decent amount of damage, but you might have some sustained issues, especially if you're fighting against a bunch of stamina builds, because you won't be getting magicka return from your harness magicka. But so far, if you play it smart, if you use heavy attacks in between, you play it smart, you don't cast too many mines, you won't really run out of magicka. But if you do, if you feel like you're running out of magic and you can't sustain too well, I definitely recommend putting like a recovery or a cost reduction glyph on the willpower. The other set we are using is Shadow Dancer. It's a 3-piece set, double maximum magicka. Now, double maximum magicka is less damage than double spell damage. It's also less damage than max magicka spell damage by a little bit. But what it does, it still gives you that damage output, but it also gives you a much bigger shield because of the maximum magicka. Sorcerers benefit tremendously from having a big magicka pool. Out of all the classes, they benefit the most. So this is going to help you stack your magicka really high and achieve some really good magicka output. Our stats, real quick. We are a high of sorcerers is the best race for the build. On our Resto Bar, we're looking at 42.586. Same thing with our Destro. Now, if you put Meteor on your bar instead of Dawnbreaker, which is definitely an option, if you put Meteor on your front bar and then the Atronach on your back bar, you will have 43.3k max magicka, so about 800 more max magicka, which will give you more damage, output, more healing, things like that. The health is 23.6k. We're using bi-stat food. So I usually use tri-stat, but this time I've been playing without the tri-stat, so I don't have the maximum stamina like at 12k or 13k. But I'm still able to manage my stamina. It's a bit tricky because this is the first time I use bi-stat instead of tri-stat, but it gives you a bigger health pool and a bigger magicka pool, which is really beneficial for the sorcerer. The recovery is 1740. Again, you can make that higher. Spell damage is 2165 unbuffed. Now, with entropy and with a light attack, the spell damage gets buffed up to 3012, exactly 3012. We're using the Atronach Mundus and bi-stat food, increase max health and maximum magicka. Let's go into the champion points real quickly. So we'll start over here. We have 64 points into cost reduction, 64 points into recovery, 39 into tumbling because we do have a smaller stamina pool, so investing more into tumbling and CC breaking is very beneficial. 6 into blessed, 10 into elfborn, 100 into elemental expert, and 41 into spell penetration. Now this is something I've just been testing recently. A couple of experienced sorcerers have told me to stack it to spell pen. I'm not quite convinced yet, but I've been playing around with it, and I will also be playing around with elfborn. Keep in mind, we only have 32% spell critical with this setup, so spell critical is pretty low in comparison to some other builds. Maybe if you're running Mage Light, you should put more into elfborn, but if you're not, spell penetration seems to be the right way to go. 10 points into staff expert. Nothing over here because Thaumaturge doesn't increase your curse damage anymore. Nothing over here. I mean, you could put points into reduce critical damage, but if you play smart and you keep your shields up, you won't have to really worry about that. 35 hardy, 35 elemental defender, 13 thick skinned, and 84 points in a bastion for really big shields. Again, this is all based off personal preference. The champion points can always be changed. I just started using this build a few days ago, so it's not quite like min-maxed to its fullest potential. It might be, I might not know yet. I gotta test a few other setups with the champion points, but so far it's looking good. If you're wondering why my character looks badass, because he does look badass. This is probably the best looking build I've ever put together. The best looking setup. I'm using the packed motif. Now I will say that they do sell the packed motif for like 5,000 crowns in the crown store, but that's too many crowns for me. So I didn't buy it. Someone crafted it for me. It just looks really cool in black and red. I really like the helmet. I really like everything about the setup. The Shadow Dancer obviously is default, whatever set it looks, but that's why I put it on the gloves, the belt, and the boots, so it doesn't have too much of an impact on the look. But this build just looks really nice. And I'll be uploading 1vx videos with this build very soon. Again, Magicka Sorcerer is a lot harder to play, and they do suffer from some of the nerfs that they've faced. But with the right setup, the right attitude, and the right playstyle, you should be fine. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to visit SypherPK.com for more builds. And if you have any questions or suggestions, please comment down below. Expect more videos coming out very soon. And thank you very much. Don't forget to drop a like if you enjoyed the build video. I'll see you guys soon.